Most people will never build real wealth from investing. Not because the market is unfair, not because they started too late, not because they did not have enough capital, because they never had a framework. Welcome to the ProfitByFriday.com podcast, where we replace guessing with process, emotion with discipline, and noise with one clear idea every single week. Now, let us get into it. What if the person who built one of the most valuable companies in history was fired by the very company he founded? In 1985, that is exactly what happened to Steve Jobs. He was 30 years old. He had co-founded Apple in a garage in Los Altos, California, 9 years earlier. He had put his name on the Macintosh, the product that introduced the world to the idea that a computer could be operated by pointing at pictures on a screen. He had recruited John Scully from PepsiCo by asking him, "Do you want to spend the rest of your life selling sugar water to children, or do you want a chance to change the world?" Scully said yes. Then, 3 years later, when the Apple board had to choose between the two of them, they chose Scully. Jobs submitted his resignation on September 17, 1985, and walked out of the company he had built from a garage floor. Most people know this part of the story. What most people do not know is what happened next. And what happened next is the part that changes how you think about every public company you will ever consider owning. Without Jobs, Apple spent 12 years drifting. The company launched product after product: printers, scanners, multiple computer lines, handheld devices, server hardware, a camera, an online service. Products that overlapped, confused customers, and drained engineering resources that could have built one exceptional thing instead of 12 average ones. By 1997, Apple was reporting losses. The stock had fallen more than 80% from its highs. Apple was approximately 90 days from bankruptcy. Michael Dell publicly suggested that Apple should shut down and return the money to shareholders. Meanwhile, Steve Jobs had not been sitting still. After leaving Apple, he founded a company called Next, focused on computers for higher education and professional markets. He also purchased a struggling computer graphics division from filmmaker George Lucas for $5 million and renamed it Pixar. In 1995, Pixar released Toy Story, the world's first fully computer-animated feature film. It earned $373 million at the global box office. Jobs, who owned the majority of Pixar, became significantly wealthier in exile than he had ever been at Apple. In 1996, Apple, desperate to survive, acquired Next for $427 million. The deal was done to get Next's operating system technology. What Apple actually got was Steve Jobs. By September 1997, Jobs was back as interim CEO. He looked at what Apple had become and made the decision that would change everything. The first principle Jobs applied is the one most business leaders never learn: subtraction creates more value than addition. When Jobs returned, Apple had dozens of products. He did not add a new product to fix the company. He eliminated 70% of the product line entirely. He drew a simple grid on a whiteboard: 2 rows, 2 columns, consumer and professional on one axis, desktop and portable on the other. 4 products. That was all Apple would make. Everything else was cut immediately. Jobs understood that the scarcest resource in any business is focus. When focus is spread across too many products, no single product receives the attention required to be genuinely exceptional. The result is a catalog of products that are adequate but not compelling. Adequate products are forgotten. Compelling products create categories. The iMac launched in 1998, colorful, distinctive, and unlike anything else in the market. It generated $309 million in its first 6 weeks and returned Apple to profitability. Not because it was the most powerful computer available, because it was the most focused one. The second principle Jobs understood is one that most technology companies never figure out. Customers do not buy devices. They buy what the device says about them. The campaign was called Think Different. It ran images of Albert Einstein, Mahatma Gandhi, Muhammad Ali, Amelia Earhart, and John Lennon. There was no computer in any of the ads, no specifications, no price, just 4 words: Think Different. A person who buys an Apple product is not buying faster processing speed. They are buying membership in a category of people who think differently from the mainstream, who value design, who trust their instincts, who believe the tools you use shape the work you create. A device can be copied, specifications can be matched, prices can be undercut, but identity cannot be replicated by a competitor. Businesses that sell identity command premiums that competitors cannot match on price alone. The third principle is the one that protects everything the first 2 principles build. The best businesses make leaving more expensive than staying. The iPod launched in 2001 and changed how people consumed music. But the iPod alone was not the strategic move. The strategic move was iTunes. iTunes became the world's largest legal music store within 2 years. And the music you purchased on iTunes could only be played on Apple devices. Every song you bought was a reason not to leave. The iPhone launched in 2007 and deepened this further. Your contacts, your photos, your messages, your apps, your purchases, all of it living inside a system that made moving to a different device not just inconvenient, but genuinely costly. By 2026, iPhone loyalty in the United States had reached 96.4%. Apple retained those customers not through advertising, but because leaving costs more than staying. Apple became the first company in history to reach a $1 trillion market value in 2018, a company that was 90 days from bankruptcy in 1997. These three properties do not only exist in Apple, they exist in public companies trading right now. Some of them, mid-cap companies in niches the major indices have barely noticed. The investor who knows what to look for does not need a hot tip. They read the structure of the business and decide before the market does. Learn to analyze businesses using the Clear framework. Download your free guide at profitbyfriday.com. The link is in the show notes. If this changed how you see businesses, share this episode with one person who needs to hear it, and we will see you in the next one. Visit profitbyfriday.com today. Subscribe free to the Friday Flash, where you will receive one stock fully evaluated through the Clear framework every Friday, so that you know everything about the company before you decide to invest. No noise, no hype, just the analysis that matters. We trade for cash flow. We invest boring to build legacy. See you in the next episode. Bye for now.